Respect. That's a word people throw around like it means nothing. Everyone says they want respect, but nobody's willing to earn it. They think respect comes from talking louder, flexing harder, or demanding attention. But the truth, respect is never taken with noise. It's earned in silence. The loudest man in the room is usually the weakest. The man who truly owns himself doesn't need to prove anything. He walks into a room and people just feel it. His energy speaks louder than his voice ever could. And if you've ever been talked down to, dismissed, or laughed at, you know the pain of realizing you handed away your power without even noticing. You see, life is full of people who will test you. Every day, they're checking how far they can go, how much they can get away with, and how easily you'll fold. When someone mocks you, when someone talks to you like you're beneath them, it's not about their words, it's about your reaction. The weak man argues. The strong man looks, stays silent, and makes a decision. That never happens again. And that silence, that control, that's where real power begins. The problem is, most people don't understand that respect is a game of energy. When you respond emotionally, you give them your energy. When you react to every insult, every joke, every piece of disrespect, you've already lost. You're playing defense. And nobody respects a man who's always on defense. Think about it. Every time you let someone walk over you, you teach them how to treat you. Every time you laugh it off when you're disrespected, you confirm that you accept that position. You're telling the world, it's okay to talk to me like that. I'll take it. And once you've set that precedent, good luck changing it later. People only respect boundaries that are enforced. They don't respect noise, they respect consistency. They respect the man who doesn't talk about what he'll do. He simply does it. When you truly understand this, you stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to convince people that you're worthy of respect. You start living in a way that makes disrespect impossible. Most men today are too desperate to be liked. They think being polite, agreeable, or humble will earn them respect. But respect doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being felt. It's not about being rude or arrogant. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you'll never lower your standards to fit someone else's comfort. People respect clarity. They respect men who know where they stand and never move an inch. You want to know why powerful men rarely speak much? Because they don't need to. Their presence speaks for them. When you walk, do people feel you? When you speak, do people listen? When you look someone in the eye, do they sense that you mean every word? That's respect. That's control. That's dominance in its purest form. It all starts with silence, not weakness, but mastery. Silence tells the world you're unshakable. It tells them you don't need their approval. It tells them you can't be baited into emotional chaos. The man who controls his emotions controls every situation he's in. Because when others lose control, he decides what happens next. That's where respect is born. That's where fear and admiration blend into one. You can't fake that kind of power. It's built in the quiet hours when no one's watching. It's forged through discipline, through control, through the refusal to let anyone dictate your worth. You want to fix your life? Start by fixing the way you carry yourself. Stop explaining. Stop reacting. Stop begging for respect and start living like a man who demands it without words. When you move with certainty, when you live by principles that never shift, people will feel it. They'll adjust to you. They'll choose their words carefully. They'll watch their tone. And they'll know, without you ever saying it, that disrespect isn't just unacceptable, it's impossible. Weakness. That's the real reason people don't respect you. Not your looks, not your money, not your job title, your weakness. Weakness radiates, it leaks out of your posture, your tone, your habits, your words. People can sense it. You think they don't notice, but they do. The world is filled with predators. Some smile to your face, some hide behind jokes, but they all share one instinct: they can smell weakness. And when they do, they test you, they push you. They talk down to you. They see what they can get away with. That's human nature. It's not cruelty, it's instinct. The strong dominate. The weak get ignored or humiliated. And until you accept that truth, you'll keep wondering why people treat you like you don't matter. You see, respect doesn't come from demanding it. It comes from becoming the kind of person who earns it naturally. A lion doesn't ask the jungle to respect him. He simply moves like the king. Weak men, on the other hand, try to talk their way into power. They shout, they complain, they act emotional because deep down, they know they have no control. You can't fake power. You can't fake presence. The only thing you can do is build it, and that starts by killing weakness. Weakness isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. It's when you say you'll do something and don't. It's when you let fear stop you. It's when you put comfort before growth, when you'd rather fit in than stand out. Every small act of weakness compounds, and over time, it becomes your identity. People disrespect you because your actions tell them they can. You've taught them that your boundaries are flexible, that your standards are negotiable, that your word doesn't mean much. You want to know how to stop being disrespected, stop being weak. Build a body that demands attention. Speak with conviction. Move with certainty. Make your word law. Weakness is an invitation for others to dominate you. When you show fear, you attract control. When you show insecurity, you attract manipulation. But when you project strength, the world has no choice but to treat you differently. Even your enemies will tread carefully because they know you're not the type of man to fold. The problem is that most people have been trained to believe that weakness is normal. Society tells you to be soft, to be emotional, to avoid confrontation. They tell you to be nice, even when people disrespect you. That's not kindness, that's submission. You think you're being good, but you're really being controlled. You've let comfort destroy your edge. And when you lose your edge, you lose respect, because respect is rooted in power. If people can't feel your power, they can't respect you. That's why you have to build it from the inside out. Start with your body, because your body is your first proof of discipline. Every rep, every drop of sweat, every early morning when you could have slept in but didn't, it all builds strength, not just in your muscles, but in your mind. And that strength, that energy, starts to bleed into everything you do. Weakness is a choice. You may not be responsible for where you started, but you are responsible for where you end up. You can be the man who keeps blaming the world, or you can be the man who fixes himself until no one dares to talk down to him again. When you build strength, real strength, you don't need to tell people to respect you. They feel it in your presence. They hear it in your voice. They see it in your eyes. Weakness fades, and with it, the disrespect, because people only talk down to you when they think they can get away with it. The moment they sense you're not that man anymore, everything changes. The jokes stop, the tone shifts, the looks disappear, not because you said something, but because your strength speaks for you. Presence. That's what separates men who are respected from men who are ignored. You can walk into a room and say nothing, yet every head turns. You can sit in silence, and people feel your authority. That's not magic, it's mastery. It's the result of control. The man who commands himself commands the room. But the man who cannot control his emotions, his tone, his reactions, he gives away power the moment he opens his mouth. Respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from stillness, from certainty, from the unshakable belief that you don't need anyone's validation to feel powerful. Most men chase attention. They try to prove their worth by talking too much, explaining too much, or acting out. But the man who truly knows himself doesn't chase anything. He attracts it. His energy demands acknowledgement without a single word being spoken. That's the power of presence. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being grounded. You don't need to raise your voice to make people listen. You don't need a posture or flex to make them respect you. True control is quiet, it's measured, it's calm under pressure. People feel that calmness and realize they can't shake you. They sense that you operate from strength, not emotion. That's what makes others back down without you even having to say a thing. Because when you control your emotions, you control every interaction. Anger, fear, frustration, they all expose weakness. The man who stays composed, who speaks with intention, who moves with purpose, he owns the room, the conversation, and the outcome. Look at any man who holds power, real power. Presidents, CEOs, generals, fighters, they all share one trait: emotional control. They don't flinch when chaos erupts. They don't overreact when challenged. They calculate, they observe, they respond on their terms. And that control makes people listen. That's why the most dangerous man in any room is never the loudest one. He's the one who could destroy everything, but chooses not to. He's the one who's strong enough to stay silent when others are desperate to speak. His restraint is terrifying because it's proof of discipline. People respect that. They fear it. When you master your presence, everything about you changes. Your posture, your tone, your body language. You stop fidgeting, you stop over-explaining, you stop seeking approval. You begin to move slower, speak slower, think deeper. You let silence do the heavy lifting. And that silence, it's powerful. Because people start to fill it with their own insecurities. They reveal themselves while you stay unreadable. That's when you realize respect is psychological warfare. The less you give away, the more they wonder. The more they wonder, the more they respect. Every time you react emotionally, you give power to someone else. You let them dictate the energy of the situation. They say something to trigger you, and you take the bait. You lose control. You start arguing, shouting, trying to prove yourself, and in that moment, you've already lost. Control isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. You can feel everything, but you decide when and how to express it. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what builds presence that people can't ignore. You don't earn respect by telling people to respect you. You earn it by embodying strength in every detail of your behavior. Stand tall. Speak clearly. Don't rush. Don't explain yourself to people who don't deserve it. Let your discipline speak louder than your words. When people talk to you, make them feel like you're evaluating them, not the other way around. That's control, that's presence. When a man with true presence walks into a room, people feel it. The air changes. The energy shifts. No one can quite explain why, but everyone senses it. That's because presence isn't something you do. It's something you become. It's the reflection of years of mental and emotional conditioning, of refusing to be moved by the chaos around you. The man who owns his presence owns respect. Because in a world full of noise, he's the silence that everyone pays attention to. Boundaries. That's where real respect begins. People don't respect nice guys. They respect men with limits. You teach people how to treat you every day, and the sad truth is most of you have been teaching them to disrespect you. Every time you let someone cross the line and say, "It's fine," you're training them to walk right over you again. You think you're avoiding conflict, but you're really inviting it. Weak boundaries are like open doors. Anyone can walk through, take what they want, and leave you wondering why you keep getting used. The answer is simple because you allow it. You've never enforced your limits. You've never made it clear that disrespect has a cost. Respect isn't built by what you say. It's built by what you tolerate. You see, people don't test you because they hate you. They test you because they want to know who you really are. Every insult, every push, every challenge, it's a probe. They're looking for cracks. They want to see if your words mean anything or if you're just another man who talks tough and folds the moment it's uncomfortable. When you let things slide, they learn that your boundaries are fake. But when you hold your ground, calmly, without yelling, without emotion, they learn something else. They learn that you're a man who stands for something, and in that moment, you earn their respect. Boundaries are not about aggression. They're about self-respect. It's not about fighting everyone. It's about refusing to let people take advantage of your silence. There's a difference between being peaceful and being passive. Peaceful men choose not to fight because they're capable of it. Passive men don't fight because they're afraid. That's the difference between strength and submission. A strong man enforces his standards with action. He doesn't argue. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't beg anyone to understand his value. He simply removes those who disrespect it. And that sends a message louder than any speech ever could. The world operates on hierarchy. The people around you are constantly trying to figure out where you fit. Are you a leader, a follower, a pushover? They test boundaries to find out. If you don't enforce them, they'll place you at the bottom and treat you accordingly. But if you stand firm, if you show through your behavior that disrespect is never free, they move differently around you. Their tone changes, their words soften, their actions become careful, because people only play games with those who allow it. When they realize you're not one of them, they stop trying. And here's the truth: setting boundaries will cost you people. Friends, coworkers, even family members, they'll leave because boundaries expose who never respected you in the first place. They like the version of you they could control. The one who said yes to everything, the one who never pushed back. When that version disappears, so does their comfort. But that's a price you must pay. Because once you start enforcing respect, the wrong people will fall away and the right ones will start to appear. You'll attract people who value your strength instead of exploiting your weakness. Boundaries aren't about walls, they're about doors with locks. You decide who comes in, who stays, and who leaves. That's power. It's not about isolation, it's about control. You can't control what people do, but you can control what you allow. And that's where your peace begins. Every time you let someone cross a line without consequence, you erode your self-worth. You start believing that maybe you deserve to be treated that way. But when you start saying no, when you start cutting off access to your energy, your time, your respect, you begin to rebuild yourself. People will notice. They'll feel the shift. They'll know they can't treat you like they used to. Boundaries are how you teach the world your value. They're how you turn weakness into power, how you go from being disrespected to being untouchable. Because the truth is simple. If you don't enforce your standards, you don't have any. People respect men who live by rules and defend them without apology. They may not always like you, but they'll always respect you. Discipline. That's the root of all power. You can talk about confidence, mindset, presence, respect. None of it matters without discipline. Discipline is what separates men who dream from men who dominate. It's what builds the foundation for everything else in life. You can't command respect from the world if you can't even command yourself. How can anyone take you seriously when you don't follow through on your own words? You say you want success, but you sleep in. You say you want strength, but you skip the gym. You say you want respect, but you can't even respect your own time. That's why people don't believe you, because your actions don't match your intentions. And until they do, you'll keep living in the shadow of your potential. Discipline is brutal. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to break you, shape you, and rebuild you into someone the world has to acknowledge. The problem is most people crave comfort more than growth. They want to be respected, but aren't willing to earn it. They want to win, but don't want to suffer. You can't cheat discipline. You can't fake consistency. Every day, the world rewards the man who chooses pain over pleasure, structure over chaos, purpose over emotion. Discipline is the language of respect. It's how you show yourself and others that you're serious. Every time you do something you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it, you build a little more respect for yourself. And that self-respect radiates. It changes how you move, how you talk, how you show up in the world. You can spot a disciplined man from a mile away. His energy is sharp. His focus is clear. His presence demands attention because he's in control. He's not a slave to his feelings. He doesn't need motivation to move. He moves because it's who he is. That's the kind of man who can't be disrespected, because even his silence carries weight. The reason most people stay weak is because they rely on motivation. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. One day you're fired up, the next day you're lazy again. Discipline doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It acts regardless. That's what makes it dangerous. That's what makes it powerful. A disciplined man doesn't need the world to push him. He pushes himself. He doesn't make excuses. He makes progress. And because of that, he earns something no one can fake: respect. Real respect. The kind that comes from knowing you've paid your dues in silence, day after day, when nobody was watching. You want to know why the world bows to the disciplined? Because discipline is rare. Weak men give up at the first sign of discomfort. Strong men endure. They push through pain, boredom, exhaustion, and rejection because they understand that greatness is built through repetition, not emotion. When you train your body, your mind follows. When you train your mind, your reality changes. You stop chasing short-term pleasure because you've tasted long-term pride. Discipline rewires your brain. It teaches you to delay gratification, to value results over feelings, and to trust the process over the outcome. Every man who's ever achieved something extraordinary had to build his discipline first. He had to say no when it was easier to say yes. He had to suffer when no one else would. He had to show up when everyone else disappeared. That's how power is built. In the lonely hours of commitment, when the world is asleep and you're out there sharpening your edge. And when you live like that long enough, people start to feel it. They start to notice that you're different. They see the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you refuse to break, and they respect it. Because discipline creates an aura of control, and control commands respect. You can't buy discipline. You can't borrow it. You build it every single day through your choices. Every rep, every meal, every early morning, every decision that moves you closer to your purpose. Each one is a brick in the foundation of a powerful man. Discipline is what turns chaos into clarity, fear into focus, and weakness into strength. And once you have it, you don't need to ask for respect anymore. The world just gives it to you because it knows you've earned it. Respect isn't something you chase, it's something you embody. When you truly understand who you are, when you've built yourself from the ground up, you stop begging for validation from anyone. You walk differently, you speak differently. Your energy changes the atmosphere when you enter a room because people can feel it. They can sense that you're not pretending, that you've put in the work, that you've earned every ounce of confidence pulsing through your veins. Real respect comes from that quiet power. The kind that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to ask. It simply exists. See, most people walk through life desperate for approval. They bend their principles to fit in. They laugh at jokes that aren't funny, nod at ideas they don't believe in, and act smaller just to make others comfortable. And then they wonder why no one respects them. It's because people can smell weakness. They can sense when you've compromised your soul just to be liked. And that's when they stop taking you seriously. You lose respect the moment you start living for other people's opinions instead of your own standards. That's why self-respect comes first. It's the foundation of all external respect. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating disrespect from others. You stop entertaining nonsense, fake friends, manipulative people, and time wasters. You stop letting the world walk all over you because you've realized something powerful. No one can disrespect you without your permission. The way you react teaches people how to treat you. If you let things slide, if you laugh off disrespect, if you stay silent when you should speak, don't be surprised when people continue to test your limits. You've trained them to. But when you stand tall, when you draw that line and say, I don't accept this, everything changes. Not just how they see you, but how you see yourself. The key to never being disrespected again isn't violence, aggression, or loudness. It's inner dominance. It's the energy of a man who doesn't need to prove his worth because he's already earned it. It's calm, controlled, and unshakable. When you reach that level, people don't even try to disrespect you because they can sense that it wouldn't end well. Not because you fight them, but because your confidence would destroy their insecurity. That's real strength. That's power. You don't have to shout to be feared, and you don't have to demand to be respected. You just have to live with purpose and discipline every single day. When you live a life of discipline, integrity, and control, the world adjusts itself around you. Opportunities open up. People start listening when you speak. They ask for your opinion, your advice, your approval. You become the standard. Because people don't follow words, they follow energy. They follow conviction. When your words and actions align, you become magnetic. You attract loyalty, admiration, and respect effortlessly. That's the reward of mastering yourself. You no longer need to chase what others beg for. But make no mistake, this isn't about ego. It's not about pretending to be untouchable. It's about embodying a level of self-mastery so strong that no one's opinion can shake your foundation. You could lose everything, money, status, reputation, and still walk tall because your worth doesn't come from outside approval. It comes from what you've built within. That's why true respect can't be taken away, because it's not dependent on others. It's anchored in who you've become. You must remember that the world mirrors how you treat yourself. If you're sloppy, careless, undisciplined, and emotionally reactive, people will treat you like that. But if you live with precision, focus, and self-control, people have no choice but to recognize it. The same energy you project is the same energy that returns to you. If you carry yourself like a man of purpose, people will treat you like one. If you carry yourself like a victim, people will treat you like one. Respect starts with your reflection. What you see in the mirror determines what the world sees in you. You want to level up your life. Stop trying to be liked and start being respected. Stop living by the opinions of the weak and start standing by the principles of the strong. You don't need approval. You need clarity. You don't need validation. You need direction. The world respects men who know where they're going and don't apologize for it. That's the truth most people don't want to face. Respect isn't given, it's commanded. And you command it not through arrogance, but through unshakable purpose, relentless consistency, and the quiet confidence of knowing you're not like the rest. Because once you've mastered yourself, once you've built your discipline, and once you've refused to bow to weakness, no one, no matter how bold, will ever dare disrespect you again. Every moment of your life is a test of who you are and what you're willing to tolerate. Respect, power, strength, they're not gifts, they're outcomes. Outcomes of choices, of discipline, of how you carry yourself when no one's watching. The weak are always waiting for the world to treat them better, while the strong create a version of themselves that the world has no choice but to respect. That's the difference between being forgotten and being remembered, between living passively and living with purpose. You see, everything we've talked about, mindset, discipline, respect, it all comes down to control. Control of your emotions, your reactions, your habits, your time. The man who controls himself controls his life. The man who lets emotions, opinions, and circumstances control him becomes a slave to everything around him. And once you understand that, once you take full ownership of who you are, the world bends around your will. That's when people stop talking down to you. That's when disrespect disappears. Not because you fight for respect, but because you've become the kind of person who naturally commands it. The moment you stop seeking validation, you rise above the noise. You no longer move for approval, you move for purpose. You stop reacting, you start leading. You stop being a product of the world, and you start shaping it. That's how you level up your life. That's how you become untouchable. When you've faced yourself, fixed your weaknesses, and built your discipline, no insult, no rejection, no failure can break you. Because you're not built from the outside, you're built from within. So, remember this, every day is another chance to prove who you are. Every morning is a battlefield between your comfort and your conviction. Choose to fight, choose to rise, choose to live like a man who refuses to be disrespected. Because respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. And once you've earned it, once you've built that strength within yourself, no one will ever dare to take it from you again.